Hi everyone, my name is Yehuda Holtzman. I'm a content contributor to YedaCenter. In YedaCenter, you can find videos and podcasts on topics such as management, technology, and science. You are welcome to subscribe to our website, YedaCenter.com, and to our YouTube channel, and enjoy each time there is a new podcast or new video. So today, session is about the difference between a perpetual license and a subscription license. What is a perpetual license? A perpetual software license is a license that once you purchase it, you have the right to use it indefinitely. After an initial period, which is typically 1 year, the vendor will offer you a support package that includes continuous software updates and basic technical support at an annual cost which is typically in the range of 15 to 25% of the original cost of the software. Why consider something else? This has been working for many years, so let's now discuss the subscription model. And the subscription license model grants you the license for a limited period of time. This period is the period for which you paid for, meaning you should consider this subscription license model as a type of service. You pay for the license for a certain period, you are granted the right to use it for that period, just like any service, whether it's a cell phone, cable TV, and so on. Since it's a type of service, it's referred to as SaaS, software as a service, and again, just like with any type of service, it's given for a limited period of time for which you paid for, and then you need to renew your license to further enjoy it. So what is better? Well, in order to determine that, we need to review several variables and how each affects both vendors and customers. I can already share with you that there is not a single answer. Based on the valuation of those parameters, each one will decide what is better for him. So let's start with cash flow. Payment for a perpetual license will be typically made in full after delivery of the software or at the end of the installation. In case of a subscription license, payment will usually be made every month or every year in advance. So if we take as an example of a software that has a perpetual, it is sold for $100,000. Once I install it during the year, then I'm entitled to receive $100,000. In a subscription model, and I'm not going to discuss the price relationship between perpetual and subscription. We have a different podcast on that. So for the time being, let's just assume that a perpetual license worth of $100,000, in a subscription price, it will be, let's say, $35,000 per year. So if I am purchasing at any point in time a subscription license for 1 year, I will pay, now as a customer, I will pay $35,000 for the next 12 months, and I will pay them in advance. So the vendor, instead of receiving in the perpetual mode $100,000, now in a subscription model, he will be receiving only $35,000. So this is regarding cash flow. Let's discuss now the revenue recognition, RevRec. So if we sold the $100,000 license on July 1st, a perpetual license, and completed installing it that day, then the RevRec is $100,000. In a perpetual license, it's considered an infrastructure, just like a PC, and therefore I can recognize it in full immediately after installation. So, if, for example, as a company, my expenses are $90,000, then my profit for that year, profit as EBITDA, will be 100,000 minus 90,000, meaning I made $10,000. Not bad. If the same software was sold as a subscription license for $35,000 on July 1st, in this case, we can only recognize revenue for the month the software was available for the user. I sold it on July 1st, so I can recognize it for the second half of the year, 6 months divided by 12 times the $35,000 license cost, meaning I can only recognize $17,500. So going back, instead of having EBITDA profit of $10,000, now I'm ending up with 17.5 revenue minus the $90,000 cost. I end up with a loss of $72,500. So why even consider it? Well, that connects to another item. What are the investors' preferences? And investors seems willing to absorb temporary reduction in revenue and cash flow in order to generate a continuous recurring revenue. And this is reflected in the high multiple for evaluation for companies providing software in a SaaS model. But still, why? Well, there are several reasons. Let me touch on 3. The first one is that in several years, the subscription accumulated revenue will catch up and will be larger compared to revenue received from a perpetual license. And we have an example that we will review later on. The second reason is that when I purchase a perpetual license, I am required to purchase every year a maintenance package, which is, as I mentioned before, 15 to 25% of the original perpetual license. Now, I don't have to purchase it, but if I don't purchase it, then I will not enjoy support of new protocols, support of new features, and obviously bug fixing, improving, new UI, and so on. What actually happens is that a decent percentage of customers very much depend on the type of customers that this software is targeting will stop paying maintenance. And once you stop paying maintenance, then the software, as the time progresses, becomes less relevant because now it's stop supporting protocols that are emerging and so on, so that the usage becomes lower and lower, and that actually even further drives you to lower your usage and look for other alternatives. When you are purchasing a SaaS solution, the subscription already includes a continuous update, continuous support of new capabilities, new features, bug fixing. Everything is within the package, which keeps you more satisfied from your usage experience and therefore has a much higher chance that you will remain a customer of that vendor. There is a third reason, and it's well connected to the one I just mentioned. The view is that more and more vendors will move from on-premise installation to a cloud installation, not just a cloud, but a multi-tenant cloud, which means that the overall cost will be much lower The third parameter is installation, meaning customer premises versus multi-tenant cloud configuration. Actually, it's well related to what we discussed a minute ago. Now, why installation location affects the type of license? So when we install the software on the customer premises, we actually lose control. We, as vendors, lose control of the process of the installation, meaning we don't have a real control over the environment, the servers, the connectivity. So we can't really guarantee quality of service. Obviously, there are a lot of ways to try and mitigate this by a lot of definition, what the requirements are from the local servers and so on. I will not go into that, but with many years of experience, I can share with you that there will be problems. And I'm not talking just about the first installation, but new versions are coming every month or every quarter or every 6 months, and new installation needs to take place. And at some point in time, problems do come up. So because as a vendor, we don't really have control of the environment, we try to separate between the software. So we sell the software as a separate package. And if the customer is interested in us assisting on the installation, then we look at that portion as a type of project, professional services that we add on top of the license. To summarize this portion, if the installation occurs on the customer premises, the license will typically be a perpetual license. If it's on the cloud, since we as vendors have full control of the cloud, especially in a multi-tenant environment, then obviously it's on us to ensure the performance. And in this case, it will be much more common to sell a subscription license where the customer can stop the subscription at any time related obviously to the contract, whether it's each month, each year, or more than that. So the fourth parameter is size of customer, where we are referring to small businesses, SOHO, small office, home office, or large corporation. As a small business, there is a high probability that instead of purchasing a software at the cost of $300, it will be much easier for me to purchase a monthly license of $10. So that should be a driver for the vendor to promote the subscription model, especially since in this case, when we are referring to small customers, definitely multi-tenant environment makes a lot of sense. But we need to be very careful here and evaluate closely the issue of cost of acquisition. So let's review the example. Instead of $300 perpetual, now we're selling it for $10 per month subscription. But there is a cost of acquisition of the customer paying $10 per month. And let's assume, just for the sake of this discussion, that cost of acquisition is $40, meaning that unless the customer maintain his subscription for 4 months, we are actually going to lose money on that customer. So obviously there are a lot of calculations here. There is a lot of real-time monitoring we need to perform in order to ensure that our subscription will survive at least this initial period so that we make money. I will not go into more details regarding how we do that, the evaluation of length of subscription. But again, this is something for you to consider. So the fifth parameter is customer financial preferences. In some cases, customer would prefer to purchase a perpetual license, especially if the cost of this license is going to be a significant factor or takes a significant portion of his infrastructure investment. I strongly encourage you to hear our podcast on the technology transition that is required when moving from perpetual or from on-prem to cloud multi-tenant infrastructure. And you can find those podcasts on our website. Strongly recommended. Now, going back to the financial issues, so when considering this transition, we have to be prepared, and this preparation needs to be across the organization. So the financial department should create alternative sources for cash flow. It can be receiving loans calculated by multiplying the MRR, the monthly recurring revenue. It can be by charging customers for a minimum period of 1 year in advance and hopefully pushing them for a longer periods. And we can also consider doing this transition in what I call the dual mode. Dual mode meaning we don't have to switch all our customer types in day one from perpetual to subscription. We can do it gradually. We can decide that one type of customers will do the transition in day one, but the others, the process will take much longer period. We can start by, say, only converting 20% and the other in the following years and so on, just to ease the lack of cash flow which we will experience. In addition to that, obviously we can take some other measure, especially by sales and marketing department. For example, encouraging customers to pay for longer period in advance, longer than a year, again by providing obviously the right incentive. Or another option is actually to reduce the subscription price for a certain period so that we can gain many more customers. I'm sure you're going to come up with some great additional ideas. So the next thing, and to end this session, what I'd like to do is actually go over an example where we can see that for the first 2 years, a company has been selling a perpetual license, and then at the end of the 2 years, converted and migrated to selling a subscription license. Now, this case is a totally synthetic case. What we see here for the first 2 years, that each month we obtained a new customer paying perpetual license of $100,000, and in the following year, each customer is paying a maintenance fee of 18%, which is $18,000. So again, cash flow wise, first year, we see each month $100,000, therefore the line is straight on $100,000. We can see that on a monthly basis, the line is straight on $100,000. In the second year, the sum grows to $118,000 just because we have the $18,000 maintenance fee from year one. And then at the end of the second year, we see this huge drop in cash because we don't have anymore the continuously monthly fee of $100,000. This time we have only subscription income of $35,000. Again, they are paying a year in advance, so we see it every month. In addition to 35 year 3, we also have the $18,000 from the first year's perpetual maintenance fee and another $18,000 $100,000 from each of the customers from the second year. So third year we see the $35,000 plus the $18,000 plus the $18,000, and again you can see here a huge drop in cash flow, something that we need to overcome. Now, obviously, as years progress, our situation becomes better, and after several years, we'll catch up and be in a better position compared to where we started. The main purpose here is actually that you can visually see the huge drop, and just make sure that you have made the right preparation to provide alternative cash flows. That's it for now. Just to summarize this session, we discussed what are the differences between perpetual and subscription licenses, what are the parameters defining what is better from both vendors and customer point of views, what to be aware of when performing a transition from a perpetual to a subscription license model, and what action should we take. And then at the end, we covered a synthetic example just to emphasize the challenge of cash flow. So thank you very much. And in case you are considering this transition, good luck.